So the story continues with the CNS going off to go get the wife to bring her back. The lights are dimmed. I'm feeling good. I think he looks great. I have the tissue box right next to the bed on a little table with some water for her in case she needs them. And I'm going to be with her, and so is the CNS. We're both going to be with her for the entire process. The curtain's drawn, and that way I can greet her outside the curtain and talk to her. The CNS brings her back into the trauma area. I introduce myself, I shake her hand, I explain to her how long we spent trying to resuscitate him, and unfortunately we were unsuccessful. And she starts to cry a little, and of course then I start to tear up a little bit because I can see how much she's hurting. But I tell her I'm so sorry for her loss, and I prepare her that, you know, he's not going to look like he looked this morning when he left for work. But I'm happy to go with her in there, and if she'd like to see him, we'll bring her in there. And she said, no, I'm prepared. I really want to be with him. I need to see him. And I said, okay. And so I slowly pull back the curtain, and she turns and looks at him and instantly collapses and falls to the ground, sobbing in tears. She couldn't even take a step into the room. She is sobbing. The CNS grabs her arm. I help pick her back up, and the CNS ushers her back to the grieving room to talk to her. And now I'm crying. I've now seen this patient go from somebody I didn't know, unknown trauma male, to learning that he's a father and a husband, to now meeting that wife and seeing how much grief she is going to go through now that he's gone. And he suddenly became this real person. And I'm overwhelmed with emotion. And so I turned to my coworkers, and they see the look on my face, and they all said, just go. Get out of here. We got your patients covered. Walk away for 15 minutes. And so I left. And I had myself a really good cry out in one of the break rooms where no one was. And I can cry today, still thinking about it. That's how hard that was. To go on that emotional roller coaster of adrenaline, we're going to save him, to gee, we didn't, to let's make him look good, to no one's in here helping us, to the family wanting to come back and see him against our best wishes that she shouldn't, and then rallying for her and making him look great and proud of the job I did, and then it's still not enough. The grief just overwhelmed her, and she dropped to the ground. And it was really hard to deal with. But thankfully, I had coworkers who helped me out and took care of my patients for a little bit so I could go decompress. And though 15 minutes was clearly not enough, I was able to at least let out some of that emotion that had been bubbling up and return back to work and take care of my patients. And thankfully, the psychiatric clinical nurse team that we have held a debriefing for all of the staff involved, from the surgeons to the attendings to the nurses to the PCAs, everybody who was available 2 days later to come in, and what turned out to be an hour and a half debriefing session of all of us sitting around a room and talking about the different emotions we felt. Some had guilt for not saving him or questioning if they should have done something different. Some were upset that we weren't even more prepared, even though we were fully prepared for this patient. It didn't matter that he lost his vital signs at the door as they were pulling up. He would have lost him 5 minutes later in the bay had they kept him going a little bit longer. He was going to die. He had suffered a serious traumatic event, but as healthcare workers, our job is to save him, and so we always harbor guilt. Some couldn't handle the fact that the family needed to come see him, that the wife wanted to see him, and they agreed with me that it wasn't the best situation. But we had seen the results of the families we had talked to after the fact that were always appreciative, always glad, never regretted seeing their loved one. And so these things are the things we do, but we carry the emotion sometimes well afterwards. And these debriefing sessions were very helpful because it let me know I'm not the only one that was feeling that way. I'm not the only one that was on the emotional roller coaster. I'm not alone. And I had a safe place to vent those feelings and to talk about them, and a touchstone if I needed it, to go back to that CNS or to go back to my team members and vent some more if I needed more time to process that. It's definitely one of the most traumatic experiences I've had as an ER nurse where the patient died, and I've always remembered